Well, hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. My name is PJ Weidner, and I manage the enterprise sales teams for Pure Storage in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Krishna Tummalapalli, the Director of Data Engineering and Visual Analytics for Ohio Health. Krishna, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, PJ, pretty excited to be here.
Well, Krishna, we often hear from C-level executives about the importance of data and how to use that data to deliver business outcomes. So can you share a little bit about what business outcomes Ohio Health is trying to achieve, and then how your role as the architect can kind of enable those outcomes?
Absolutely. As you know, like I'm in Ohio Health, right? So the healthcare space, there are a lot of functional areas which are exploring opportunities in terms of how data can supplement and enable them to make better business decisions, right? From a C-level, obviously, these are all big programs, whether it's HR, when you talk about how we think about the staffing model, how we try to minimize our attrition in different areas. When you think about our clinical space, where we try to optimize, how we can better serve our patients, customers, in terms of providing better schedules to them, routing them to their nearest facility that they want. And it could be on the supply chain, right? Last time I checked, it was in some thousands. I was like surprised, really, saying that, oh my gosh, like these are so many SKUs we track on every single day, right? Like, and also not only tracking the supply side of it, but also tracking where in this organization a unit is, so that it can get to the hands of the person who wants to use it in the right time. So as you can think about, like, all these by themselves can thoroughly and like heavily benefit from a data layer that can power this decision making. So my job as the director of data science and data platforms, that is this role. Like I was doing the data engineering and visual analytics, and I'm also like now in the process of transitioning into this data science and the platform management side of it. So my role is to take those business goals that the executives have, convert them into a roadmap, and more than that, putting a execution plan to that, and how we deliver on that.
That's great. So do you have like different decision makers for each one of those buckets that you described? So it seems like those are kind of different business outcomes for each of those different business units.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. Like we have multiple, we call them the service lines, right? So we have different areas that service lines, and yes, there's a hierarchy for each service line, like, starting from the executive level all the way it flows down. And there are subject matter experts, there are decision makers with for each of these vertical, if we can call that. And yeah, I was working with them. But the good news for me is we build those foundational capabilities, right, which can scale across these verticals.
That leads me into my next question. So, organizations these days, they're just flooded with so much data, right? And the problem is a lot of the data is not even usable in the current formats, right? So improving the data quality and reducing kind of all of those data silos seems to be top of mind for most executives that we talk with. So what are your initiatives to address these types of issues?
Yeah, I think as we were kind of talking, right, is every business area would like to consume data in a certain way, right? If I'm wearing my technical hat, if I talk about from the point of how to identify what data to source, what are the different ways I process the data and make it ready for consumption, I divide that as there are some core things that everyone in the enterprise can leverage, right? And there are some custom modules that we apply in the pipeline that are very specific to a business area. So I think the data silos are created because obviously someone in the organization is not getting the data the way they want.
Right.
So by able to create a platform, but by no means I feel like a platform can break all the silos, but it can really start provide a strong rationale on why we don't need these silos, or why they can be more efficient focusing on the outcomes versus trying to worry about processing this data, right? Like that is where you have this centralized capability of data engineering, data platforms and all. So again, I go back to building a fundamentally strong platform with various capabilities that can not only meet standard enterprise needs, but also the custom needs of different various business units would help to break that.
Yeah, it's a great way to explain it. So what are your thoughts on the importance of like third-party data solutions, public clouds, private clouds, and how are those going to enable those important capabilities and outcomes that you're talking about?
I personally am a big fan of third-party data solutions, to be honest. I mean, in the sense, in multiple ways, right? Again, there, as an enterprise, you have a limited capability, or you need to be focused, so you cannot really go rogue on exploring everything. So you got to pick your poison and stick with that, right? But there are even when we were talking before about Pure Storage and educating you on some of the awesome capabilities that it offers. It is very difficult for a single enterprise to focus on a specific capability like storage and build these foundational capabilities, versus when you rely on third parties, you are now opening your doors for contemporary cutting edge capabilities, right? So now the challenge for me and like our team comes in terms of, first, how do you pick the right one? But more than that, how do you make the best use of the solution that you pick?
Right.
So that is probably where I think I would like to, normally I try to spend more time to see whatever I'm picking, how is it trying to tie to the objective I'm trying to solve, and how it can scale to many other initiatives or many other goals that I would eventually have. So that's kind of the focus.
Yeah, that's great. So that about wraps up our time together. Christian, thank you very much for joining me today. And for everyone watching, remember, you can visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Have a great week.
Hey, thanks, PJ, and thanks, CDO Magazine. This has been awesome.